Yo, what's up, fuckers? It's 6:30 in the morning, and I'm headed to work. Fucking tired. um, it's one of those situations when your job offers you overtime, you don't say no because then they're gonna stop offering you overtime. And it's been like that for the past maybe 3 weeks, where it's been calling off, but they only call off early in the morning, so I have to be there early in the morning, and I don't get off of work till 10:50 or 11 at night. So I'd be from 7 until 11, so that's a lot of overtime. Do I want it? Yeah, sure. I guess that's gonna be the conversation I want to have. Is I've never really enjoyed my job. Granted, for the movie theater job was a lot of fun. Just because that was wild. Ouch. Missed my shift. Missed my other shift. I feel like the front tires may be out of air. I should check that, but fuck, I'm just so tired. But yeah, with the exception of the movie theater job, that was wild. I was dating someone then, so we were doing, not so much at work, but other kinds of stuff. Plus there's other, those other perks, such as, movies. Naturally, just getting free movie tickets, and a lot of time, this is a really interesting and weird part of my life where I just couldn't sleep, so I was like, you know what, I'll just go watch the midnight screening of this new movie, see what it's all about, and I learned to appreciate movies that way. But since then, I've just kind of grown to, I don't really like movies anymore. I barely have the patience to watch them. It's just because I don't want to say most stuff is coming out is garbage, but I don't see the point of it anymore. You're just kind of sitting down. I don't know. Fucking tired. Let's catch up with that bandit. That was easy. Prior to all this, I didn't really like work. I just did the bare minimum. Because I had other things that I was working on, whether it be school, my art, mainly those. So those two things, those have always kind of had a priority in my life. But now that I've let those kind of sit back and they're not much of a priority anymore. Not that they're not of a priority, but I've chosen to sacrifice them for the next couple of years in pursuit of to better my opportunities. Because I don't believe, school. Come on, dude. I don't believe school is really gonna better my situation. Come on, dude. I might go back to school for a liberal arts degree, whether it be English or literature. Most likely some kind of, I don't know if they offer some kind of literature degree. Totally don't mind going back to school for that, because I enjoyed that a lot. Prior to that, I was going to school for mathematics and aerospace engineering, and I was fucking miserable. Like, I thought I loved math, and don't get me wrong, like, math just comes easy to me. Even like calculus came easy, but it's just, I was miserable, man. Like, it's just, I saw the, you got a lot of kids when they're studying algebra and stuff, they're like, what's the point of this? It's stupid. Why do I need to know this for my taxes? And it's like, true. You don't really see the virtue of all these little building blocks that lead up to calculus and beyond. But eventually you're able to implement those I don't know what to call them, theories and stuff. Implement that level of mathematics to do some real cool shit. in engineering, such as, or engineering, design, anything really. For example, if you want to find like the exact volume of something as it's draining and filling up at the same time, or those are really basic what do you call it? Basic examples or basic implementations of calculus. But you can do some really cool stuff. Like it's all about finding the infinite value of a certain curve or volume or whatever. That's all calculus is. Really interesting stuff. It's not, fucking like autistic level of, difficult. It's kind of like working with the Rubik's Cube in a sense. And if you've never worked with the Rubik's Cube, it's much simpler than it looks. I like to describe it as algebra with colors, or 3D algebra, which is what calculus 3 is. It's this 3D calculus, which you're thinking like, what the fuck? But it's easy. It's just simple steps that you have to know, you have to master to kind of, it's like a little puzzle. You just kind of put it together, you see where you can fit certain pieces of the puzzle, and it eventually just builds the whole picture at the end. But in order to build that puzzle, you need to know by heart all these theorems, these theories, these substitution methods, all these things. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't hard. Granted, my professor was fucking tough. You just threw the hardest fucking questions at us during the exams, which I enjoyed because I could, I failed his calculus 2 class, I believe, the first time, and I was like, you know what? Instead of taking the easier professor, because I really want to know this shit, I'm gonna just take the hard guy again. Well, I'm not gonna miss his name, but awesome dude. But one thing I noticed from people from the STEM side of education is that they all seem kind of miserable to some degree. For example, that particular professor, as awesome as he was and as great as he was at teaching, he was huge. Like, he was huge as in the sense, like, obese. Like, didn't look all that healthy. And not to say that fat people can't be happy, but generally, if your body isn't healthy, then you're not feeling all that great all the time. There's something wrong. There's something that's making you that big. And I guess you could blame genetics or whatever, but just generally speaking, from my experience, just my experience with big people, they think they're happy, but there always is something that kind of ails them, whatever ailment. But yeah, there's that professor. There was my physics professor as well. This guy was overweight as well, and he's super cynical, man. Like, I thought I was cynical. Whoa, shit. That scared the fuck out of me, that van. I thought I was cynical. And in reality, no, like, this fucking professor, like, I think he was just cynical with the fact of how fucking retarded these, educated people are, students who are looking to get an education. How woefully ignorant and just... there's another word for it, but they don't understand the real world. And it pissed me off because it's like, dude, I'm just here to fucking learn. Like, he would slip in all these little facts and stuff about being a doctor. It's like, no, it's not as great as you think it is. I'm like, yes, I know. I've looked into the fucking numbers because that's what my major is. But, you get a bunch of, people that go to school, a lot of them don't really do that kind of extra research for the sake of themselves, educating themselves, which is kind of ironic, but yeah, you would just see the whole, room of physics students. They'd be fucking in shock. They're like, oh my god. Like, for example, I remember one time he told us, like, medical doctors, not all medical doctors get to become practicing doctors. You got to go through like some kind of bullshit residency. He didn't say it that way, but he explained it as it's objectively done. And people were kind of shocked. You're like, wait, what? So you go to school for 10, 15 years sometimes, and you're not guaranteed a position in practicing medicine? And I was like, yes. I don't want to get into it because it's certain groups of people come up and it's like, yeah, that kind of makes sense why. But yeah, the whole room was shocked. I'm like, how the fuck do you guys not know this? Like, medicine is not hard at all to get into, yet it pays well. Yet, why is there always a fucking shortage of doctors? Like, it doesn't make sense. There is no shortage of students. Again, I don't want to get into this because this is the shit I've learned over the past 5 years of going to school, or for myself actually, because I don't know where I was going with that, but now that I'm just working, I'm improving my situation with, now that I've finally decided school is not going to improve the situation, or it's not going to go. Actually, let me go back. So there's this other professor another physics professor, Asian dude, known for inventing some fucking telescope for NASA. I don't know what the fuck it was. But yeah, this guy was fucking broke too, and this guy was working like 80 hours a week. He's like, oh yeah, because I want to put my kids through school. I was like, wait, what the fuck? And again, this guy looked miserable. Granted, he wasn't like an Asian immigrant guy, so their kind of idea of work ethic and stuff, and working criminally long hours is they perceive that a bit differently than us. But you can tell this guy was fucking just he was struggling, like, just with sleep and just his mental health and stuff. Great guy, no, he was a great professor, but still, it's like, wow, like, dude, like, fucking, you're a doctor and you're having to work, these ridiculous fucking hours just to afford to put your kids to school. Like, didn't you, as like a fucking Asian immigrant, like, I don't know, dude, it's fucking stupid. Because again, there's a lot of interviews and such about him because he's such a well-known, I guess he was known for that one thing he did for NASA. So there's a lot of interviews about how he became a doctor. And he was like an Asian immigrant, came here on his own, went to no one supported him. It was just him. But, again, I don't want to get into it, but it's just like, being educated doesn't make you all that happy, because I was just surrounded by the unhappiest fucking individuals when it came to STEM, and I just saw myself like, why the fuck do I want to, I have no desire to do this for work. When we would do labs for physics, that's pretty close to what I would be doing for work, and since I was in school for such a long time, I would have some friends graduate, or whatever the fuck you call them, colleagues. I don't know what the fuck they're called. I would have friends graduate, and then they would come back a couple years later, taking more classes. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing here at the junior college level? Like, aren't you supposed to already be on your master's program? They're like, yeah, but this job requires that I have this certification. And it's like, what the fuck was the point of your education if it wasn't going to get you a job? Like, now you're coming back to the community college, the junior college level, just so that maybe the job you're hoping to work for will consider to interview you. Like, it just didn't make sense. Didn't make sense at all. So eventually I started to kind of come to the conclusion that, like, college does not help people. Granted, if you are completely uneducated, you got D's and stuff in high school, sure, I guess college would help. It would refine your thinking sensibilities, make you more self-aware. Not really think for yourself, but that's something you're supposed to learn on your own as you go through college. But as it turns out, colleges, they teach students how to think for themselves, which, turns them into fucking rainbow pixies and shit. But yes, if you just kind of snooze by through high school, sure, maybe college can help you to become just a more cognizant person. I would recommend college for that, to kind of think for yourself. But if you're just there for the career, it's not there. The college is not there. you know, there's always this catch-22 of like, well, you got the education, but do you have the experience? And if you did, you know, we can't hire you unless you have the experience. But every entry-level job requires they have experience. Again, it doesn't make, it never made sense to me, college. But, you know, granted, I do want to return back to school for the sake of, you know, literature. You know, I always enjoyed those classes. You know, I took maybe like 3 or 4 more than necessary for my general eds. Just because I had so much fun with this professor. You know, she had an awesome class. We would just read poems, plays, everything, essays. And it was fun exploring that. And there was a time in my life when I was writing a lot. At the time, I was dating someone where we would literally just write pages upon pages of letters to each other every day and send them through the mail. And since then, that's a nice car. Since then, I haven't really gotten into it, or, you know, spent much time writing, mostly because of, you know, I'm still processing that. But, you know, like you trust someone that well, and then they kind of, you know, flip the fucking script on you, and it's like, well, okay, like, what the fuck happened? You stop trusting yourself, your thoughts, and you just kind of, you know, it's just a reactionary thing. It wasn't something I like consciously did or made the decision to do. But now that I've decided to kind of change my life and change, and not really change my goals, but to finally reveal to myself what these goals were, where I was headed. You know, I've been much healthier and been more accepting of myself lately. I guess the next point I would like to make is, like, you know, I finally, you know, I never really knew where I was headed in life. Granted, you know, no one really ultimately has control of their fate, whatever, but, you know, I've always made these decisions in my life, but I didn't know why I made these decisions, you know, where they were leading. For example, I'm riding the motorcycle. Granted, you know, it's a lot of fun, but this wasn't the original decision why I decided to ride. There was 2 reasons. One, I wanted to learn to ride manual, or to know how the clutch works, and motorcycling was the cheapest option. And 2, I saw this inflation shit. You know, I've lived here in LA all my life, and, you know, inflation is just one of those things that happens in LA. I saw eventually that people weren't going to be able to afford gas one day. One day in my time of living here, we're not going to be able to afford gas anymore. Kind of how, I don't know. I mean, every first world country has eventually experienced that. Britain, France, whatever. You know, the working class people could no longer afford to have bread anymore, due to, you know, shortages. But it's not really shortages, but yeah, I saw that. I got into motorcycle when I was maybe 20, almost 21, and I just decided, you know, at the time I was only paying like $35-$40 for gas. Like, it wasn't a big deal. You know, granted, you know, it was a lot of maintenance, but yeah, I made the conscious decision to kind of abandon cars and in favor of motorcycles, because it just makes more sense. You know, it's much cheaper. I can ride like a fucking idiot, and by an idiot I mean like triple digit speeds everywhere, accelerating super fucking hard, harder than you would could even dream about in a car, and I'm still getting 45 miles per gallon. Like, you know, in a city where driving is everything. Come on, I gotta kind of pick up the pace because I might be late for work. I don't think I will. 10 minutes? No, I won't be late. I'll be really close, but not late. Alright, come on, dude. But, what the fuck was I saying? Yeah, I made these decisions, you know, the motorcycling is because because I saw myself, I didn't want to work just to pay for gas. I remember when I started working, you know, there's a lot of these fucking coworkers that were bitch about how, like, oh, gas is expensive. I'm like, dude, it's not if you know how to budget, if you're not a fucking alcoholic, and if you actually just took control of your life for once. It's not something that's hard to afford, even with the car at the time. But I made a lot of these decisions, and I guess, it's not unique to me. It's just something that a lot of sensible Americans would do, is lower your cost of living as low as you can, or as low as you can comfortably bear. And that's just something I've always did. I feel like unconsciously, just always sought out ways to kind of live the certain way that I do now, or not now, but that I eventually worked my way up to. For example, I do not like air-conditioned rooms. Granted, I prefer being in a colder room than a stuffy room, but still, there's just things here and there, like, the way I eat now. I only eat once every other day because it's not, if you look into the research, the science, it's not unhealthy to do that. It's not unhealthy. It's actually healthier for health's sake. And that's why you got a lot of Americans that have a lot of mental and physical ailments, is because of our diets. I mean, the quality of food here in America is fucking garbage, but also how we eat is also a huge factor as to our health, or how to. It's a very powerful tool to control our health, both mental and physical. And I just started doing research on that, like why. Whatever. But again, there's a lot of these things that I did in my life to kind of that led up to this point of realization, like, what am I headed towards? Because I didn't really know what that was. They felt a lot like unconscious decisions that I just convinced myself were conscious. And eventually I think I revealed to myself, like, oh yeah, it's because I want to get the fuck out of here. Get out of LA, which, not too long ago, maybe a year ago, I would tell you, like, I do not want to move out of LA. It's beautiful. Not beautiful, but I could never give up motorcycling. The way I'm riding now, you cannot do this you cannot do this in the rest of the country. There's only like two more states that allow this kind of riding. Okay, we got to pick up the pace. Yeah, but eventually I just started to realize, like, I need to get the fuck out of here. It's just not possible for someone like me, someone my age, to live comfortable here, live happy. You're surrounded by just ugly fucking people. By ugly, I mean like ugly on the inside. We're all fucking. Everyone here in LA is fucking like a sociopath. That when I had girlfriends that tell me, like, oh, you're psycho, whatever. I'm like, yeah, I just do not care to kind of hide it. But every person here has. Is that. I would argue to say, I don't know, but yeah, just the people here are fucking ugly. Granted, that's not everyone, but I would say the vast majority, including myself, we just are ugly on the inside. And I made a decision, like, I want to get the fuck out of here. I want to just meet genuinely happy people that that are genuinely happy for themselves, and maybe moving out of LA or moving out of California will just hopefully move me in proximity of people more like that. Who knows? I don't know. There's a lot of things, but there's no chance living here in LA I'm ever going to own land, or a significant amount of land, for it to become something to pass down as like a legacy property or something. I never cared much for having kids because I lived here in LA all my life. I knew it was not impossible, but very it just wasn't a smart idea to raise your kids here in LA. I wouldn't want to have them exposed to the kind of shit that is just normal here, like homelessness, shitty people, all this LGBTQ stuff. It's just no. And granted, there are ways around it. It's just very expensive if you intend to do that in LA. Raise your kids that way, I guess in a conservative, or in my case, a Catholic sense. The fuck was I gonna say? Well, I mean, that's all I can really say because I gotta head to work now. But yeah, it's cool talking to you guys. I'll probably have this conversation later at night or tonight. Refine it a bit more. Barbara litter picker. Oh, Barbara litter picker. Okay, what a strange name to put on a thing.